Hi, everyone. My name is Suzanne Rain, and this is our webinar, 10 Reasons New Homes Are So Easy to Sell, with our host, David Fletcher. Before we get started, I want to let you know that you can ask questions throughout the webinar. Sometimes we save them to the end. Sometimes we ask them. It depends on if David's discussing what your question is about when you ask your question. When you ask a question for us, please use the Zoom Q&A feature. Right now, though, we want to know, can everyone hear? I know that's the silliest question I ever ask, but if you can hear me, if you can see the screen, go ahead and type in the chat that you can. That way, what will happen is we'll know that you're not having any problems. If nobody says they can hear, then we know we have a problem. Silly way to do it, but it's one of the few ways that I seem to know how to get this done. And then why we ask you to do that is because with the Zoom Q&A, we can run a report later. So maybe we can't answer your question during the webinar, we don't get to it, then we can always go back and pull up that report and reach out to you later. With chat, we can't do that. And that's one reason that we ask you not to ask questions to us through chat. You can type to each other through chat, and if you want to discuss things with each other, that's one thing. But otherwise, please use the Zoom Q&A to ask questions throughout the webinar. So again, this is the 10 reasons new homes are so easy to sell with our host, David Fletcher. David is the co-founder of the founder of New Home Co-Broker Academy. If you haven't heard about it, it's a really great designation you can get that helps you learn how to work with builders. He's got like 40 years or more of experience in the business. He's a broker, and he's worked with like 70 different communities, selling more than $3 billion. He's helped recruit, train, and supervise on-site sales agents. And now he's trying to help you as an agent so that you can learn how to work with builders. So David, you want to take over?
Yep, I'm unmuted. Thank you so much, Suzanne. Well, good morning, everybody. Looks like we have a pretty good crowd here today. We're going to go fairly rapidly through the system, and if we're holding true here with our audience, about half of you have 5 years or more experience, and about half of you are maybe 1 or 2 years. Doesn't matter. What you're going to get today is we're going to talk about the 10 ways, 10 reasons you should be selling new homes and why they're so easy, but we're going to talk about a couple other things too. One, up front, I want to mention something. Recently, David Ramsey, some of you may have heard of him, did a webinar on the economy and where we are today. And he basically encouraged everybody to relax. We're going to be fine. There's not going to be a disaster. And the reason for that is the supply and demand. The supply for housing is not what the demand is not meeting the demand, and that's especially true now in new construction, which means that your timing here is perfect. So with that, let's dig in and see what we got to talk about here today. Let me get this going. There we go. Here are objectives. We've got 3. 10 reasons, easy reasons to sell new homes. We're going to show you how to find new homes inventory, not just find new homes inventory, but the right new homes inventory. And we're going to talk some about the importance of helping new home shoppers find you. We're going to show you some examples of that. So stay with us. That'll come toward the end of the webinar, and you're going to like that. We're going to show you some social media things based on what our graduates are doing. That's the only experience I've got. And by the way, you may have heard of our course. I'll just mention it briefly. It's a 3-hour course online, and you can go in and take it when you can. There's an exam. When you complete the exam successfully, you earn your certified new home co-broker designation. So we have about almost 6,000 graduates now. I just wanted to make that point. Might reference a little of that as we go through here. So let's get started. Number 1 reason that new homes are easy to sell is because they're saleable. I mean, when you look at that, what's not to like about a new home, right? a new home model, which is what this happens to be. But that's the number one reason new homes are so easy to sell. In any surveys we do, we always ask, what is the most important thing that a builder could do to help a realtor make a sale? And they always mention the first thing is, furnished models. You always know that you're going to get a clean, well lighted, easy to look at, easy to love model. And when you show these to your clients, they love it and they appreciate it, whether they're interested in new homes or not. Everybody likes to look at new homes. This is an interesting revelation. Perhaps you don't show the home, which of course you do in resales. But what you do basically is what? Introduce your clients to the on-site agent. Now, there are exceptions to that, as there are in anything, but basically they show the home. And we're going to talk about how to make a proper introduction to the on-site agent as we go through the seminar. I'll be talking about some things, maybe give you some scripts and some help as we go. You don't sell the location. This is really important, especially if you have ever been into an area looking for a listing appointment or even selling, and you're not familiar with the neighborhood. You just haven't been out in that side of town lately or whatever, right? When you go into a new home and you want to talk about the location, this is what on-site agents typically specialize in. This is not only the greatest subdivision that's ever been built, but they'll teach you and show you and explain why that this happens to be on the right side of town. This is where the economy is growing. This is where new schools are being built. Little league ball fields coming in, YMCA's coming in. They know every little detail, and a lot of those kinds of details are very important from a location story, right? So even if you're not showing new homes, they said they want to see a resale. It doesn't hurt to stop in an office, a new home sales office, and let them give you their presentation so that you know that your clients are getting a professional, thorough story about the location, the side of town they're interested in buying, or if they're going to list. It helps for you to know the location and helps you to present your knowledge of that in your listing presentation. Number 4, you don't need to know construction. Now, the reason I mention this is a lot of times we're a little more subtle about it, but when you ask people why they don't like to show new homes, they don't like to show new construction. That's part of it. But the real reason they don't like to show pre-sales is because they don't like to wait on the commission. And that's totally reasonable, right? Who wants to do that? If I have a choice of getting a commission in 30 days or 6-8 months out, I'm going to take the 30 days. But the fact is, if you're going to get into new homes, you're going to have to get into construction, into pre-construction and pre-sales, because that's where that's how they're building today, right? You're not seeing many specs. They'll come back as the market softens some. You'll start seeing some spec homes, but basically, you've got to learn the process of pre-construction. You don't have to learn construction, but you need to understand the process. So what happens then when somebody asks you a question about construction? You've got a new home prospect perhaps, and they start asking you construction questions. How do you handle that? If you try to answer it, you're going to get another construction question. And so let me give you a little tip on this. I would strongly suggest that you do everything you can when that question comes up to, one, understand the fact they're asking it and why. And you appreciate that. It's a good question. But you found that the best way for them to get the right answers to construction questions is to ask the people who are building the house, which means when we get there, we'll ask to meet with the superintendent or the foreman or the builder or someone who can not only answer your questions, but answer all of your questions. And that's very important to me as your representative. And they appreciate that, by the way. And that kind of gets rid of the questions of construction, or expecting you to answer those questions. What we tend to do when we don't know is we tend to act like we know. And that's very dangerous, especially when it comes to these types of things. This is one of our graduates. This is what happened in her situation. She was totally intimidated by on-site salespeople, and this is what happened to her. So right after she took our course, not saying that's the reason that she sold these. She's obviously a good prospector and a good qualifier and a lot of good things here that she was doing. But she got over the fact of being intimidated by on-site sales consultants, which is huge for some people. Number 5, you don't negotiate the price. I'm going to spend some time here because this is another reason you'll hear agents say, I don't like to do new homes because I can't negotiate price. And the reason they're saying that, and I understand it, is that's what you're trained to do. You're trained to negotiate price for resales. But the fixed price, this is one of those things, put a star behind. If you're drinking coffee and not paying attention, I want you to, you can keep drinking your coffee, but hear what I'm about to suggest. This is really important because it's going to help you make more resales. It's going to help you sell more resales and more new homes. Watch this. Which one of these 2 homes would you say? Here's my question for you. Which one of these 2 homes you think is the best value? We've got a $400,000 home on the left, base price, no incentives, no upgrades and all that, just the base price. You look at this home, this is a home. They said they wanted a $400,000 house. You show them the new home here. This is a home they can live in for $400,000. Now, we know that it might not be the exact location. There are always compromises, right? And you're not trying to sell them a new home. That's not the point. The point is you just, because the way you work, and by the way, you need to practice a statement on how you work, because if you don't, they're going to tell you how they work. And here's how you work. Here's what I would suggest is when you meet and start qualifying, the most important thing to me, Mr. Jones, Ms. Jones, as we look at our homes, and you said you're interested in resales, we're going to be looking at some resales that meet your needs, obviously. But the most important thing to me as your representative is for you to understand the money. Now, they haven't heard this expression, perhaps. This is a new thing. What do you mean by that, right? What does that mean exactly? What that means is, when I say make that statement, is for you to understand the money. And the only way I know to do that, now I can show you MLS, I can show you what's selling, what's sold, we can do that. But the best and only way I really know how to do that, so that you truly can understand the money, is to show your home at the $400,000 base price you said you wanted to pay, that you can see, touch, and feel, so that you know you can move into that home for $400,000. So with that in mind, which one of these homes would you say is the best deal? What do we have going on over here on the resale side? There's an asking price of $400,000, right? We don't know the price, real price. Now, we have known that, hey, you better add about a 10% or 20% of that if you want to stand in line to buy it, right? Well, those days are kind of gone in most markets, and they're going fast. Those days are sort of over. Oh, what's being predicted now is 5% increases a year over the next 3 years in homes generally, and that's what I've been hearing. And obviously that depends on the market and demand in your market and so forth. But basically, we've got a resale over here. What do you think these people are doing? What's that guy scratching his head about, you think? He could be looking at a pool that needs a repair. We don't know what he's looking at, right? Could be a garden. I don't know what that is. But there's some concerns about what? What is it going to cost to fix that? Whatever it is he's looking at, right? So we've got an asking price that we're not sure of. And we've got some fix it up, some renovation to do here we're not sure of. You see, they don't understand the money. So what happens here generally is they will call you. They love the house. Going to probably make an offer on it this weekend. You go home tonight, you grab your spouse, take in a movie, get a nice hot dinner somewhere because you got a sale coming up Friday. That happens to not be what they're thinking about tonight. The couple looking at this house is not going out to dinner tonight or a movie celebrating Friday. What they're trying to do is figure out what in the world is that house going to cost. Not the price. That's part of it. But what's it going to cost? The renovation, deferred maintenance, there's all the things that can come up here, right? So what do? They call you Friday. You know what? Really, the good news and bad news, I guess. The good news is they're going to keep looking. They're not going to cancel. They're not going to quit looking, but they want you to show them some more homes. So what are you going to do? You're going to show them some more resale. So what are they going to do? They're going to get more confused about the money. Would you buy a home if you didn't have a lot of urgency, for example? Would you buy a home if you didn't understand the money? We kind of expect them to if they don't see a base price new home, right? So here's the point. Here's my strong recommendation to you. Start showing a new home first in your show. Put the new home at the top of your showing schedule. Well, wait a minute. They said they didn't want a new home. I understand that. That's not important. What's important is that they understand how they can live for $400,000. Now, you show them the new home, they get excited about it. I guarantee you, they're going to love it. And when they go to see the resale, and this is where selling more resales, as I said, this is why I say that. Watch. They've now seen the new home. They know that they can live in that new home for $400,000. They go back now, and this seller's asking $400,000 asking price. What is the buyer who just saw the new home? What are they thinking right now? They're comparing that resale to the new home from a price standpoint. They're now putting in their own mind, not you, not the MLS book, in their own mind, they're determining the value for that home. They're deciding if they want that home and how much it'd be worth to pay for it compared to what they just saw. You see, and what they just saw might not be anywhere near the location they wanted, but they could at least live there if they had to for $400,000, right? But it's not the right location. It's not close enough to the school. It's not on the water, whatever. This house here might be near a school and on the water. We don't know. So we can't say which one of these is the best value. The best value is the one the buyer wants to buy, right? They're going to make it a value to them. So therefore, since they're going to rule out the location on the new home, for example, now they're looking at the resale, and if they get this with say $390 or $375 or some price they put on their own head, they're not asking you, they're figuring this out for themselves. And it's going to take $25,000 to fix up whatever that thing he's scratching his head over. Now they're back to $400,000. Now they understand. And this might be exactly the home. That resale might be exactly the home they want, but they could not have come to understanding the money as clearly had they not seen the new home. Interesting. You don't hear that in your training, I realize, but this happens to be where we spend a whole section on this in our course. It is really important. What does it cause you? For you, what you have to do is maybe change the way you're doing a couple of things, and maybe you need to. Right? Just try this. I'm just asking you to try it. So even if you went out of your way a little bit to show a new home, just keep explaining to them, what all I'm asking you to do is take a look at this new home so you can better understand what you can get for $400,000. That's all I'm asking. Well, we didn't want to. I said, I heard what you said. I don't care. That's not my job to sell your new home or resell. My job is if you want to resell, to help you get one. And that's what I'm helping to do. And they will thank you profusely. They really will. Because they appreciate what you just did, especially people relocating into your area. They know nothing about any market, right? And they're putting 100% of their trust in you. Now you're transferring some of this value and what is worth a decision back to them and let them figure it out for themselves. And that's really how you can convince, they'll convince themselves that this is the house they wanted under these conditions. And so they're going to go ahead and buy it, not keep looking, for example. Sometimes you'll find that to be a real benefit as well. You don't introduce incentives. This was not important just a few weeks ago. It seems like they weren't giving any incentives. Right now they're coming back. Now you're getting invited to lunches, and this is probably one of the reasons you're here. You're sensing this, and that's great. But look at this. why don't you introduce incentives? Why am I mentioning you don't introduce incentives? You know why? Because that's exactly what you do when you introduce your prospects. And the reason you do it is you're not trained to understand what this is all about. You're trying to respond and be of service to your clients. And what are they asking you? Exactly. What are the incentives, right? On the way out, they're beating you up about incentives. Well, I went to this other builder, he's doing this, that builder's doing that. Or I've got to have good incentive. There you go, right? Let's talk about this one a minute. I'm going to spend a few minutes here. The incentives, now remember this. I'm trying to remember where I got this. It's not original with me, but when I heard it, I thought, man, that is so good. Myers Barnes, you may have heard of him. He trains new people. He's the one where I got this. But he said in his discussion about this, that the introducing incentives are not, to quote him, an opening statement. I love that. It's true. He went on to explain what they really are. They're closing tools for the on-site agent. They're closing tools. They should never be brought up by you. They will be brought up at the right time by the on-site agent. Now, what is the right time for the on-site agent? The right time for the on-site agent is when your client has said, I want this specific floor plan on this specific lot. It's a one-on-one single negotiation for that particular home on that lot. Just to throw out, well, here's what we do on everything. You're not going to hear that. You may hear like, well, right now it's grand opening, phase 1, phase 2, we'll close out, whatever. We're going to throw off 10% off of lot prices, whatever, something like that. But generally, this is how it works. So when you get that type of conversation going on in the car, you want to same thing. You want to thank them for bringing that up, and it's a very important. And at the proper time, you're going to negotiate the incentives on their behalf. And by that time, you should know, if you've called the on-site people, you just ask them, what can you do for me on incentives? Well, we're giving 3,000 for this, 3,000, 6 for that, 8 for that. Okay, now you know. That's what you heard. And you will get that explanation as they get, what they do is get them into the process and then bring these up toward the end. And we demonstrate that in our course. You'll show how the psychology of this is amazing. So let them do their job. That's number one here about how to start building relationships with on-site agents. Let them do their job. In other words, so there you go. Now let me ask you this before we go to the next slide. Which one of these would you say, if you were negotiating, and you can sometimes, you can negotiate. And by the way, as the market gets softer, you're going to see these incentives going up. You're going to see negotiations being more viable. And so be alert to that. Okay. So in fact, when the on-site people say, here's, the incentives of this, that, and the other thing, you say, are any of these negotiable? Ask them. You don't do that in front of the client, obviously, but ask them quietly. Can we negotiate anything? Yeah, we'll give, if they close in 30 days, we'll give them another $1,000 off on this, or increase $1,000 allowance on that. Okay. So you can do that sometime. Don't promise anything. You certainly don't start having them think you're going to negotiate price, right? They're not going to give you, well, let me back up a little bit again. It depends on where they are with the lender. The small volume builder has a different problem than the production builders that are, backed by public companies. But for the most part, because they can't lower the price because it affects appraisals. They can do a few things with the home site, but once it's up, and they start, and a lot of those floor plans are the same floor plans, just on different home sites, right? But let me ask you this: which one of these four, if you wanted to negotiate with the builder, which one would you think the builder would find the least attractive to negotiate? Which one of these? Pending price increase. That's nothing really to negotiate, because unless you're going to buy in another 3 weeks when the pending price increase takes effect, right? That's all you need to know about that. But waiving the lot premium today, worth $3,000, cash contribution, decorating allowance. Which one of these is the builder not the least likely to negotiate. How many of you think cash contribution? Okay. I'm not asking you to show in your hands or anything, but just in your own mind. Because that one, why would not the builder rather not negotiate the cash con? In other words, I would say to the on-site, you know what, I've talked to my people, you give me another couple of thousand on that cash contribution, that's 6,000, give me 8,000, and we'll do this deal. Well, would he rather give you another 2,000 on the cash contribution? Or another 5,000, let's say, on the decorating allowance, for example? He does not want to give you any more on the cash contribution because that's coming out of his pocket. The decorating allowance is based on value. He might, you might be buying a lot of appliances, cabinets, all kinds of things. Taking the allowance on that. That's 6,000 here. Let's say it's 8,000. Well, it might have cost the builder 5,000. You see. So you see the difference is that cost him less than actually the cash contribution would at this point, if that's what it cost him. But he's got some room there. So just understand that. That's all. Just understand the process. Don't have to be an expert on it, but that's how you handle it. All right. So you don't have to worry about knowing all about incentives. Just know they give them. And by the way, I don't know of a builder in the United States of America in the last 700 years. I haven't gone back that far. That doesn't offer incentives in a good market. I mean, excuse me, a needy market. It's just a pending needy market for the builder. It's going to get, what's going to get interesting, really interesting. There is a supply and demand out there that's a real dynamic. There's going to be continued home building. But finding that qualified buyer is going to become very competitive among the builders. Who is controlling that that buyer? Who in your town is controlling the qualified, motivated, qualified home shopper? You. That's why he's coming back to the realtors. The builder's going to come back to you guys in waves, and they're going to be. You're going to see some really interesting ways they reach out to you. And the longer this lasts, they keep moving the rates up a little bit. Every time they do, they lose a little more share of the market, right? So just keep an eye on that. Be sensitive to it, because these builders they're coming for you now, and it's a great time now to really learn how to work with them and build relationships with those on-site agents, and learn how to cut some deals like the working on the incentives and these kinds of things. You don't sell the home. You actually don't sell the home. Now, you actually don't. The on-site agent sells the home, right? I've got some arrows up here. On the left, we have the on-site consultant shaking hands with the buyers. The realtor standing there, sitting there watching this unfold. And what she's done is introduced her clients at some point, whether it was that day or a week later, whatever. Now they're back. They're going to do a deal, and she's going to get her commission. And she basically didn't say too much during the tour. If anything, we kind of train you not to say anything once you introduce. And basically, she's going to get her commission. And why? Because the builder is paying you to bring them a qualified buyer. The on-site agents, by the way, will tell you, and they'll say to make this statement. It used to offend me a little bit. I'm thinking, man, they must think we're really lazy. They say, you bring them out here and we'll do everything. When I first started hearing that, I'm thinking, that's not very respectful. What do they think I'm going to do? It's my clients. I've got to be doing something, right? Well, what happens is a lot of times if you don't know, you start talking and you don't even know what you're talking about. We had one of our, in a seminar we did, this lady, she admitted that. She said, I can't stand you. I can't stand showing you homes. I started talking, I can't quit. And I don't even know what I'm saying. She actually said that. And I'm thinking, she's not the only one, right? We've all been there with that. If we're in sales, every single one of us, right? So we certainly don't want to do that. But this is a fact. Let them do the selling. And when they tell you they will do it all, they mean it. And you can thank them for it. Say, okay, that's great. Then what do you see my role as being if you don't know? And they will explain that to you. You don't prepare the purchase agreement. Now, to you out there who are new homes, excuse me, new agents, this is beautiful. You don't have to have any skills to show new home, to put somebody in your car. You may need a GPS for directions, and take them out to the sales office. That's it. That is all you really have to do, and let the on-site people do their job. And as you get more experience, you certainly do more than that, but we don't need to get into that right now. But that's really all you need, and that's all they want you to do. You don't manage the transaction. My goodness, is this a big relief, right? Look here, this agent just sold a new home to this couple. They wrote the agreement this morning, but came back to the office. Maybe it went out and had lunch, but they came back to the office. And because I don't know if these are the people she just sold, or maybe they're a new prospect, but either way, she is showing a new home, another new home or resale this afternoon, because she's done her job. Here you go. You go back to your office. That ring any bell? There you go. That rings a bell for some of you, I'm sure. And how in the world do you focus on prospecting when you got to start setting up appointments and checking with the mortgage, all that goes on is so much. And this is huge, a really big one. But number 10, you don't have much competition. Let's act for a moment that this is a general meeting, regional meeting of all the agents. And now they're having a meeting, and somebody has asked, who in here has sold a new home in the last 3 months? We'll look at the back. See, they all stick together, all in the back. See their hands raised. You don't have any competition. Most of these people here sitting in this room do not, quote unquote, fool with new homes for all kinds of reasons. And I mean, when you think about your competition for listings, and you think about your competition for buyers, who is that? Well, how many members do you have in your local association? If it's let's say, for example, it's 10,000. Oh, that's your competition. Not all of them. Some of them they're just hanging out and they're not even working, right? So let's divide that, cut that down to 5,000. 5,000. That's a lot. Let's cut that down another half to 2,500. That's still a lot, right? You're in a commission-based business here with all that competition. Not if you're out there farming for new homes and working with home builders and helping new home builders sell their homes. It's easier. It's more profitable in a lot of ways. There's no discussing the commissions and all these good things. And your people love it when you can put them into new. They love it when you put them into resales too. I understand that. So there are your 10 reasons. Now we're going to talk about a couple more things while we got you here. So stay with us. Just wanted to emphasize that as we close out. This is your resale competition. So exactly what does Builder pay you to do? I touched on it earlier. Well, exactly what does he pay you to do? Any thoughts on that? He pays you to do one thing. Bring, for the first time, bring a motivated, qualified home shopper to their sales office and introduce them to the on-site agent. That's what you're getting paid to do by the builder. And you're getting that because you have the prospect. You're bringing them the one thing they can't get enough of, and that's qualified prospects. And that problem is going to get more serious as the days go by here. So you go out and you introduce your prospects on their first visit. This is what you're doing. The on-site agent, when you do this and you let them know, give them some button to hit, some hook to talk about. In other words, don't just introduce them there from wherever they're from and they're looking for a new home. Here, give them something specific, you see? And what that does is it really sets you up with the on-site agent. The on-site agent knows that you know how to work with him or her in that case. But just remember that. This is really important. So we've talked about what your expectations are, what the builders are. So what exactly does your new home shopper the shopper, your client, what do they expect? Well, I've got to say that one of the things they expect you to do is find them the right new home, not just a home, but you're their advocate and be their advocate through the entire process. And at this point, I want to turn this back to Suzanne. Suzanne, if you would take over, I'm going to mute myself. You're going to have to mute me. I'm having trouble muting myself. So if you would do that.
Okay, there you go. I'm Suzanne Rain again, and this tool that we're talking about is the New Home Source Professional Platform. I'm an agent in the Austin, Texas area. Angela Kellerman, she's been answering some of your questions. She's also an agent in the Austin, Texas area. We both use the site. It's a way for you to search for new construction properties. I'll say in your market, but this is actually a national tool. So if you want to know what's going on in different areas, you can also search. I'm in Austin, but I could search where David is in Florida. It's great because it's free to you. It allows you to search for the area that your buyer's interested in, and then you can share listings with the buyer. It has several parts of the platform. I always say it's sort of two pieces. One is that there's a part you use as an agent. You search, you can see information about the builder, you can have links to the builder site. You often have tools that they've provided as links to, such as interactive room visualizers, things like that. And then when you share these listings with your buyer, they are directed to what we call an agent branded capture page. We call it your showing new site, and you get to customize. It's basically a website, and that's where your buyer views information you send them. And on that side, they don't have a lot of what you have. They don't have the links to the builders. They don't have connections to the builders. They don't see their phone number like you do as an agent. What they get is all the information about the property, but you're their resource. If they send a message through your agent branded capture page, it goes to you. If they see a phone number to call and ask a question, that's your question. So it was designed to give you the information you need about new construction in your area, and then direct your buyer still back to you. So you're the one that sends them all the information. You're the one that then can set up, schedule tours and things like that. So it's a really nice, great platform for you to use. David, you want to move to the next slide? Because I think it shows more details about some of our other parts of the tools. I don't think it's, there you go. So this is an example of some of the information that you can find when you search the new construction. You can search by city, zip code, community, name, county. And when you get to the search results, you either can see the details of the properties in like a list. I always equate it to like a spreadsheet. If you can see there right under where it says search new constructions, New Home Source Professional, it says Austin, Texas area. This is all on the left side of your screen. It says price, beds, bath. You can narrow down criteria. You can see photos of the property. And I'm going to get David some updated screenshots, because now actually you can see a little thumbnail next to the plan address, so you can see what it looks like. We have different views. You can look like, if you click on one property on the right there, you see more information about it, and you can see those links that says East Village Classic Collection. That would take you to more information about the community. If you clicked the KB Home, that would take you to more information about the builder. And so it's a lot of information for you. We also give you ways for you to reach out to the builder to find out how do you register the builder. We've been trying over the past year to keep up to date with what builders are doing. Are they paying commission? Are they not? So we have added these little verified, unverified. So you know that if we've definitely verified, although we always tell agents when they're using our platform, if you have questions about specifically how do you register a buyer, how do you get paid, the best thing to do is to email the builder, because as David has mentioned, sometimes they change things. And so because of that, we always suggest you definitely reach out. So it's a great tool for you to be able to search David, you want to move on to the next slide? This is an example of, I had mentioned to you the agent branded capture page called your showing new site. This is my showing new site. And so you can see that that's me up there at the left, and I was able to put my designations. I've gone through David's new home co-broker course. So I was able to put that up there. You can see my broker's logo. That's actually a picture I took of what we call, I think we call it Ladybird now, used to be Lake Austin. I think. And so you can customize the screenshot of the main page so that it's local to your community. And what's nice about this is it'll help you promote yourself. So one thing you can do when you use New Home Source Professional, besides sharing the listings with a buyer directly, is you can take these listings and share them to social media. And I always, when we do our webinars, because we do webinars on how to use New Home Source Professional, when we do these webinars, we point out, if you're sharing listings directly with a buyer, your goal is to help your buyer. Once you start sharing these listings to social media, to me, my goal is to promote myself. It's an easy way for me to go in there and do a real estate post. You know, I do a happy feel good, I do something going on in the community maybe, and then I do a real estate. So if I'm busy, especially, this is a really fast, easy way. And it reminds everyone in my network that I'm an agent, and it lets people know that I can help them with builders. Because I think a lot of times if your clients go to a builder without you, it's not because they're trying to be mean. They honestly may not know that you can help them with a builder. So it's up to you to educate your buyer about the fact that if you want to work with a builder, you may need to go with them for the first visit. You may need to register them or something like that. So it's a great way for you to promote yourself when you share these listings out to social media. You can even take the URL of your showing new site and just make a post out of that. So it's a great way for you to promote yourself, to get more business, and also use New Home Source Professional to help your buyers. And we always tell people, if you're promoting yourself and you get a new buyer, well, you may get a 2-for-1 out of that and get a listing too, because if they're looking for somebody to help them buy and they have a house, well, they may be able to use you then to list their home. So it's a really great tool. It's so free to you. David, is that my last slide? Okay, yeah, I thought it was. So there's a couple other tools though. So we do webinars on this New Home Source Professional tool. Again, it's free to you. And at the end, David's going to point out to you how you find New Home Source Professional. We partner with MLSs and brokers across the US, but we do have our own website, which is just www.newhomesourceprofessional.com. Dave, is there anything else you want to add? Let me see if I have to. Let me see if I unmute you here. He's been having technical problems this morning with that mute button for some reason.
I'm
there you
done.
go. Yeah.
No, I think Suzanne, repeat, what was your website address again? Repeat that for them.
It's www.newhomesourceprofessional.com, or you
Right.
can send a question right now to me and Angela and ask if your MLS has already partnered with us. Because like Austin Board of Realtors, who's who Angela and I are members, it's a tool within our MLS. So sometimes it's an easy go through your MLS, but it's just as easy to go to our website and sign up because it's all free.
Yeah. Plus the educational side of that is awesome. They have so many educational tools, answer so many questions about a lot of things we talked about today. You know, you really need to go. It's the best deal out on the internet. If you have the slightest interest in new homes and working with new home buyers, I just highly recommend that you at least go look at it. New Home Source Professional.com.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Angela. I have Angela in the background there. There's Suzanne, thank you. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Okay, don't leave us now, guys. Here's what we're doing. I'm going to give you some case studies. We have a little time. I'm going to weave that in to some really interesting case studies that are going to help you as I show you what our graduates are doing on social media, right? So let's get started with this. This is really going to be interesting. I know it will be. Yep, what's interesting here is, let's try this. There we go. Okay, let's talk about this real quick and then we'll move right ahead. Here are the three things we've really been talking about. One is your MLS companion. Without knowing, you having some control over your new home's inventory, you're not going to have the confidence you need. It just won't be. You can't do it. Get to know and get to get to know your way around what's going on with New Home Source Professional. Really important, because you want to be able to get them the right new homes inventory. That's what you're looking for. And number two, we talked about getting along with the agents, right? Building the 10 easy reasons. This is one of them. When your agent is doing the selling, you want not only that, but you want to be a collaborator with them, help them do their job. They'll help you do yours. Make that a point of how you work. And now we're going to talk about some actual things you can do to help new home shoppers find you. But I threw this up here. 26% of new home shoppers out there you don't meet. They're coming in buying new homes. You're not marketing to them, so you're missing them altogether. They're coming into town to build a new home, buy a new home. How can you help new home shoppers find you? Now let's get there. Okay. I threw this one up. I guess I kind of forgot about it, but there it is. The indifferent buyer. You probably never heard of this buyer. This is a buyer who will look at both. They've been out on the internet. Make sure you take care of those people. Ask them when you qualify new home buyers. If you're not qualifying for new homes, you're missing this market. They've come in for resales, but they will look at new homes. They just haven't told you that. 39%. That's a huge percentage. Here's how we do it. Here's how they're doing it, I should say. On Facebook, you see the NHCB. This is an agent that graduated from a course, got some other credentials behind her. She'd been in business about 12 years and decided to get a new home. She now is working with investors, and she loved it so much because she said the builders do all the work. And so she wanted to travel. That's why she started selling new homes, and that's what she specializes in. She has investor groups from the Philippines and a couple other places that she works with. This is LinkedIn. This is what Claudia did on LinkedIn. Let me give you an interesting case study about, I had an agent come to me almost in tears, so frustrated, just devastated. She'd been with this couple about 8 weeks. They had insisted on a resale with a swimming pool. She suggested they look at new homes. They definitely did not want to look at new homes. She did not know how to get them to a new home because she didn't know about this fixed price thing I just showed you earlier. So she just took them at their word. She was with them. They looked at pool this, here the resale over here. That wasn't quite right. They just couldn't get it right. She said like 8 weeks. I mean, she'd been with these people 8 weeks, showing them resales with pools. She's running out of tools, running out of inventory to show them. They're frustrated. She's frustrated. They call her one Monday morning and told her what a nice person she was and couldn't thank him enough. Couldn't thank her enough. You had these calls, but they had bought a new home. Let me tell you what happened. She had no reason to lose that sale. Here's what happened. That couple said, we just went up there. We wanted to look at carpet and some new ideas. And we ran into an on-site agent up there who showed us a model and then advised us not to put the pool in yet, but to buy the new home, live there a year, decide what type of pool they could really afford and needed, and then put the pool in. Made all kind of sense to them. They got a new home. You know, who's not to love the new home, right? They got a new home, no pool, after 8 weeks, without the realtor. You know, I'm shaking my head as I tell that story. It's just unbelievable. It's not a matter of skill. It's a matter of knowing what to do. You know, it's not like you're becoming a great closing star, you know, a great prospector. You get to the prospects, you know how to close, but you don't know what to do in situations like this. So I just wanted to pass that along. Not knowing what to do probably cost that agent, well, I don't know, 12, 15,000. That's a lot of money, right? So I just want to make that point. This is what our graduate did here in LinkedIn. You see the NACB is where she put that. Okay. Some use that, some use other things. These are 180 people out on LinkedIn. I did an NHCB. You could do that if you want NHCB, just do a word search on it. And these people came up, and this is how they're using it in different ways, using NHCB. I just wanted to show you that to you. And it stands for New Home Co-Broker. So that's the designation you get when you complete our course. This is on YouTube. You might want to go in and listen to these guys. It's pretty interesting. These are brothers. They graduated from the course, both of them. They were all excited, started telling people all about the course, what experts they were now. And here's one on the right. She just wanted to show her certificate. So this is how they did it. Here's one that used the logo. Look at this. She's letting the world know. See, now that's in addition to that, she spelled it out, New Home Co-Broker. But see what she did with the logo? When you go to her site, you go to Instagram, you're gonna get the feeling if you're looking for a new home in her area, you may want to talk to her. Would you not think so? Another quick case study. I love this story because it was the our very first graduate. I didn't know it at the time when I got her email, but she wrote thanking me for what she'd learned in this course because she'd made a sale. And what she had done, she had been spending a lot of time with a couple who wanted to buy foreclosure. You're going to get used to this. Might come back to you at some point when you're working with foreclosures. She didn't know what to do. They'd been working for weeks. The couple was about to give it up. They said, well, we want to spend so much money and that's it. They couldn't find what they wanted. They won some the bids or whatever they were doing. They won some of those, but they didn't like the house. So she was about to give up, and she made one. She remembered something. She did it out of order, but she remembered it. She suggested, look, you want to spend $250,000 on a foreclosure. Why don't we go look at a new home for $250,000 just to see what you can get? They agreed to do that. They went out and bought a Ryan home. But they went out and looked at it one day and went back the next day and bought the new home. You don't need any skills for this. You just need to know what to do, right? This is so important. And if you get it out of order, you're not writing step by step, you didn't follow the process exactly, so what? Make sure they see the new home when you're running into trouble like this. And I had another guy ran into me at a golf reception he had up there for at a broker party. He said he'd been with these people like 6 weeks, showing them resales all over the area, driving them everywhere. Finally remembered something. He said, I remembered what you said. Take them in, introduce them to the on-site agent, and don't say anything. And he said, I did exactly that. I introduced them, took them to a new home, sat down on the sofa, didn't say anything. They bought a new home that day, that very day. Now, this is money that they're putting in their commissions, they're putting in their pocket, thousands of dollars, because they knew what to do. They got them to a new home. I mean, I just want to I got hundreds of these, obviously, but it just is so frustrating because it's just a matter of knowing what to do. This is Twitter. This is what they did, a little different approach. They spelled it out that way. Okay, one more on incentives. Just give you a little bit of an idea on incentives. A broker in Tampa had a wonderful relationship with about 4 builders in Tampa. And he had a prospect who the deposit, they were having a lot of trouble coming up with the deposit on this new home. Now, if you were selling resales, you couldn't do it. You couldn't have this type of negotiation. But here, since he knew the on-site people and they knew him, he said, I really need some relief on that contribution to the mortgage, the closing costs. And they were offering $5,000 or whatever. And he said, I'll try to figure out something to do. They want to close in 60 days. I'll see if I can get them to close in 30. You see, he was doing something for them. You want to try to always do that if you can, right? I want you to give me something. Here's what I'll do for you, right? Not just you give it to me. So try to figure that out. But that was not the key. The key was his relationship, because he said, these people do not have the money. They just don't have, they need any cash break we can give them. And they brought in a mortgage broker. This is something we went through. I just talked to this agent not too long ago. The builder came out with a 5.5% mortgage, and they said they can't do it. It's too much. The interest rate had gone up. It was too much. I mean, the mortgage rates, excuse me. And so the agent calls in a mortgage broker. This is important. She had a relationship with 4 different mortgage brokers. She had one that was willing to run a qualification on the buyer, and found them a 4.5% mortgage. When the builder came out with I think it was 5.5 or 6, is a 2-point difference. So if it was 5.5, that'd be 3.5. They came in with so when they came out, they couldn't buy the house. So she turned it over to, then the realtor said, well, I have a mortgage broker that'll give me 4.5 on this. So the builder said, he said, let me check, goes up the line, checks on everything, came back and agreed to give the buyer, the builder agreed to give the builder loan at 4.5. If my minimums are wrong, it might be close. It's something like that, but it's a 2-point difference. But the builders want the loan. And as the realtor said, the builders make their money on the mortgages. They want those mortgages. So the mortgage broker in that case did not get that loan. But on the other hand, that mortgage broker gets the calls when the lender, the preferred lender, can't qualify the buyer, and the builder will call her to help them with the loan. And they can find these, they're called secondary lenders. They're not the preferred lender, but these mortgage brokers and other lenders are called secondary lenders behind the preferred lender. And I would suggest you find a mortgage broker and start building yourself a relationship with them. All right. Okay. We're about done here. Here's a look at the certificate. Put a little bit of this on you here. This is how you use it. newhomecobroker.com. newhomecobroker.com is our website. This is the benefit of it. This is where you can learn from one who sold it. That would be me. I don't have to get into that, but I've been there, done it, right? So done some of it wrong, matter of fact. Regular price is $1.49. The discount code on it is news-6. So if you would do that, you can enroll today, get that discount. It's not just today, you can do it tomorrow too. Not gonna, we're not putting a deadline on it like that, but we'd like to see you do it today if you want. Then thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to New Home Source Professional and enroll at newhomecobroker.com. You can also reach New Home Source Professional at Facebook and Twitter. With that, we got time for a question or two. Do we have any questions?
We had a few questions. One agent was just mentioning that she'd worked with many buyers for new homes, seen good and bad builder reps. And if you had any advice, if you get a bad builder rep. I mean, now one thing we tell people when they reach out to us and say that I'm helping somebody and the on-site sales agent's not very helpful, is I tell them maybe contact the internet sales team to see if they can get any questions answered that way. I don't know what your advice if you come across a quote bad on-site sales agent.
No, they are out there.
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
no
right.
question about it. I think that's a really good answer right there, Suzanne. If they have an internet advisor, or maybe call speak to the sales managers and be real nice about it.
Right.
Maybe it was me, maybe they were having a bad day, but I took some prospects out and they embarrassed me a little bit, but blah, 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 whatever happened. But be nice about it.
Yeah.
Be above the crowd, just stay above the crowd with it. But it does happen sometimes.
Right.
That to me is why it's important to get to know you build your own preferred builder teams. You find a good one, put their phone number in your phone and call those, just get to know them. This is Sally working at this for this builder. This builder's building these, and I like working with Ted or whatever. But get you 4 or 5 of those as a core group of builders. You'll still show your prospects to anybody, but you have 3 or 4 core builders that they know when you walk in, you've got a qualified buyer, and you're going to get professional help.
Right.
When you're working with that type of confidence, it makes all the difference.
Right. And what we tell agents in our other webinars is, especially with New Home Source Professional, that's not just about sharing with your client. It's about building relationships
Absolutely.
with those teams. And what I notice is that I get emails, especially if you sign up, they'll have the list just for agents, and you'll know about what's coming in a community before someone else will.
Yeah.
But and I've never really met an on-site sales agent that didn't want me to help them do free marketing or something like that.
Yeah,
I've never walked in and said, hey, I might take some pictures today and do a post. I've never had anybody say, no, thanks.
yeah, exactly. No, they
So-
really want to work with the realtors. They really do. There's no question about it, especially good ones. And there's some out there like Suzanne and Angela, for example.
So again, thank you, David, for
You're
hosting,
welcome.
and thank you everybody for joining. Again, www.newhomesourceprofessional.com, www.newhomecoworker.com. If you go out to our site, newhomesourceprofessional.com, click resources and webinars, and you can see we have webinars on how do you use New Home Source Professional that might help you. So again, thank you everyone for joining us, and have a great day.